faces, those that I've just met, that some have just put me in my place already, right? Right? That's good. That's a good thing. I am the director of the Voucher program here at the District Housing Authority. I am proud to be a wonderful partner to the Housing Providers Association for probably around 10, 11 years, 12 years now. We've been going strong. We've had our ups and downs, but you guys are really the crux of how we breathe. We can't do anything without you. And I think year after year, I say how much I really appreciate you guys and growing with us. And some of the things that you guys have recommended, we have actually adopted in policy. A lot of those things, the impediments and things that you guys have presented to us to provide quality housing for our families, that we've actually adopted those things in policy. We hear you where rents, the rents are escalating. Our board has heard you, our executive director, Ms. Adrian Todman, has heard you. And through what's called Move to Work Flexibility, we were able this month now, to make effective April 1st, to not go just 110% of what HUD considers as a fair market rent as the cap. We are now going to go to 130% of what HUD considers as the fair market rent as the cap effective next month. So we're raising the cap on the maximum we can pay on behalf of program participants, which I think is a wonderful thing for you guys. And what that also means is our new approved rents online, our sub-market rents. We finished that analysis, and we will release those on April 1st as well. And almost all of the sub-markets rents have also increased. So the maximum we can pay, the maximum we can pay to you guys for new lease subs and now for, in fact, rent increases has now gone up effective April 1st because we are able to do that because we have a special contract with HUD that enables us to do it, and this agency thought it was, you guys, we value your business and this is how we want to keep you as partners. So those are good things. The other thing I want to highlight before I turn it over is that in May 1st, we're scheduled to launch our new owners portal. And our new owners portal will enable you to do many of the things that you have to come down here to do for us. To do business with us, you'll be able to do through the portal. You can request your rent increases and actually see it tracked, see where it is in the process. All the landlord packages, you submit your packages to us for lease ups all the time. You don't need to do that through the owners portal. You can submit your package online and track the progress, where it is with inspections and everything. Appealing inspection failures. Ooh, yeah. You'll be able to do an appeal to the Housing Authority where we go out and fair your unit. You're going to be able to do an appeal of that inspection to us. So the owners portal will be a robust tool that both you as a partner and us as an agency will be able to use to make our business more seamless. So those are some things that are coming, the long things that we've been talking about for a while. Some things like April 1st with the raising of the payment standards will happen. Some things don't happen a little further on, but to let you know that we are working on it. We do hear you. I am proud now to introduce the new Executive Director of the Department of Human Services. She is a industry guru on homelessness initiatives and housing. I am pleased to say that she is a friend to this agency, Ms. Zeilinger.
Well, good evening. Thanks to everybody who is in this room. We really appreciate your time, and I definitely appreciate our partners at the Housing Authority as well for making space for us on your agenda. I could not echo Ron more in the importance of partnership to really doing work together. And really one of the issues that I'm here to talk with you about, really the main issue I'm here to talk with you today about, is partnering with you in our efforts to end homelessness in the District of Columbia. I'm very excited about the work that the mayor has committed us to in this space. I come back to DHS having worked in the Obama administration, where we have a president who is also very committed, and a cabinet on this issue, and really encouraging housing authorities to do many of the things that Adrian and Ron and the team here are doing to really support the kind of partnership that it takes across agencies, because we know that people have affordable housing needs, they have service needs, and it's only when we work together as a community that we can create the kind of interventions that people need to really be part of our community again. I had the opportunity yesterday morning to join the mayor with the county executives from Montgomery County and Prince George's County, where they signed a joint charter on ending homelessness, and the mayor said that she is intending to put in her 16 budget $100 million in the housing trust fund to continue to fund the affordable housing needs in our community. So this is a real deal, but we can only do it, again, with partners in the room. We want to work with you. We know that in our working relationship at the Department of Human Services in the city on efforts on homelessness, we have some fantastic success stories to tell, and we've had some bumps in the road where it hasn't worked so well. So my job here today is not primarily to make a huge push and ask of you out of the gate, but to hear from you about what it is you need from us, because I absolutely need your partnership, and I know there are things that we might need to do differently to make that one that works. But before we get there, I wanted to first introduce a couple of landlords that I know our department has found really helpful in doing business with, who can share a little bit about their experience in working with us in our programs, and then I'm going to come back up and say a few words and open for some discussion. So I want to introduce, we're first going to hear from Mr. Bateman, and then we're going to hear from TJ Adams, and you guys can decide coming up together or one and then the other. I'm not quite sure how you coordinated it. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, Director. Basically, they asked me to touch on a couple of points on a couple of points that has to do with my organization and the teamwork that we do with DHS. So my name is Thomas Bateman. Urban City Management is the name of my organization. I'm the owner and broker of that firm. TJ Adams is the CEO, so he runs the day-to-day operations of the firm right now. I've ventured out over the last 2 years and became sort of a small developer in the city. And, I kind of wanted TJ here to kind of speak on a lot of the points that they actually asked me to speak on, because he's been doing this day-to-day for the last 2 years. So just to give you a little more background about myself, I'm native Washingtonian. I grew up between Northeast DC and Fort Washington, Maryland. Graduated from Friendly High School, went to Cheney University in Pennsylvania. Graduated with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I was a parole officer for C. Sosa for about 8 years or so. Left C. Sosa to pursue this, and this is where I'm at now. A lot less hair, it's a lot more stress, of course. But I'll turn the floor over to TJ.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's great to be here. It's also great having the new executive director of DHS with us tonight, as well as Dallas and Michelle. It's just to be in this environment and to hear the commitment from, the president, the new mayor, is very impressive. And it helps us as landlords and as property managers to know that we have support outside of our individual organizations. So it's great to be here. I've been on the Urban City Management team for just about 2 years, and my eyes have been open to a whole new world. My background is in commercial real estate, where we dealt with Class A buildings. So my experience this morning with a tenant whose unit was commandeered by someone with a .45 caliber handgun is very unusual. So this is new territory. So that's how I started my morning, okay? So I have a great appreciation for the fact that Urban City Management, as well as DHS and DCHA, are providing housing for the homeless. That is our mission. We do that with pride. We treat our tenants, we try to treat our tenants as if we were moving into their units. That is our hope, which means we will try to provide that environment and that atmosphere that is conducive or that would lend to actually us moving in to these units. So, and with the standards of DHS, which is very important, we just quickly leased up 4 3-bedroom units yesterday in a very efficient fashion for DHS, which made us very happy. And to see the emotion on these tenants, it really gave value to what we do on a daily basis. To see these babies running in these new units with fresh carpet, fresh paint, it's very fulfilling. And to know that what we do on a daily basis is appreciated from the federal government, the executive branch, all the way down, it's very exciting. So, you know, we've worked very much with the rapid rehousing program that has changed tremendously for us. Clarence Stewart is very diligent in sending emails and very excitedly finding additional housing for the rapid rehousing program, which started out a little rocky, but we are definitely seeing a lot of progress with that program. So we're very excited about the changes and the caliber of tenants and their drive to do better in that program with finding education or higher education as well as employment. So we've seen those eviction numbers drop tremendously from that program. So we're very excited. And you know, Tommy, you know, released more properties to that program, which allowed us to quickly house members from the rapid rehousing program. And then the standards of the DCHA program, we've worked very hard to have a great relationship. Ms. Isaac is here. She's definitely an asset. Mr. McCoy, too. It's great to actually put a face with the name. I've seen that name so much. We're going to talk after this meeting. But to have the support that that we receive here, the lease-up process has been streamlined. We had some issues, and we were able to schedule a meeting with the supervisor here, and she took out her notepad and said, let me just lay it on me. And it wasn't an intense meeting, but the fact that we were able to do that, the fact that we were able to solidify that partnership here, and we're no special folks, but it speaks to the commitment that DCHA has towards their clients. And same with DHS. Vanessa Austin, she has to get credit publicly tonight. Amen. She is a hossette in her case. So she's very diligent. She makes us better. And I guess that's the testament for everyone else. The inspectors that come from TCP, they also make us better. But I don't have a time frame. I know we're not in church, but I'll take my 2 minutes, and I think that's about it. So we're glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, we're so pleased, and it is exactly that. And I love that you brought this to really the real experience of the families and the people who benefit, because we know that people only really have the opportunity to achieve and maintain employment, to be able to deal with health concerns of themselves and their children, to work when they have the stability of a place that is home, and they're not dealing with the chaos and instability of trying to manage themselves in moving around in lots of shelter environments. And kids do better in school, and it is what we as the whole community benefits when people are in housing. We see that. And you in this room are the people who provide that opportunity. Now, what I want to know, though, is we know that we're so glad for all the things that are working well, and we want to keep doing the things that are working well. But we've also heard a lot from participants in the program and from some landlords that sometimes there are things that are not quite working right. So I'm going to tell you about some of the things I've heard, some of the changes that we are looking at making, and I want to know what else it is you need, and also to then agree to come back and tell you what it was we could do or not, and figure out how we can really grow this relationship, how you can help us bring more folks that you know who may have units that they can rent, so that we can really not be living in a community where we have 800 families or more on a given night and the kind of instability that they're in tonight. And that's really what we're all about. So we offer a number of different programs through the Department of Human Services to support families to exit homelessness. When families come in to apply for shelter, oftentimes they are already involved in the TANF program. And when they are in the TANF program, they receive a comprehensive assessment, and we begin to know something about them and their needs and their work history, their ability to go to work. When they come into Virginia Williams, we have made some changes to integrate their TANF services with the services to support their housing stability, so that we are working hand in hand, side by side with some of the caseworkers in the TANF program and in our housing program. And then when families, to assess families and the housing intervention that they might get, we use that an assessment tool to really understand whether their service needs are short or long term. And from that, we can have a variety of different things that we can do. So families who have had long histories and repeated histories of homelessness, where there's a disability in the household, where it's going to take some time, and it's just not realistic that head of household is going to be able to pay full rent independently in the next year or 2 years or 3 years, or maybe really ever. I mean, Ron started out by talking about increasing the rents for you all because of the increase in the market, and that for people who are on fixed income, that just makes housing more and more and more unattainable without a subsidy, right? Which is right. So for some folks, without a subsidy, especially if they're receiving Social Security or some other fixed income, we've got to be able to provide them that long-term affordability. And so that we sometimes do that through a combination of vouchers with the Housing Authority that don't have a time limit to them, and then the supportive services that come through DHS, where we're helping to really provide some stability to help families deal with histories of trauma, with other things going on in their lives. And sometimes they graduate out of that program, and they actually, folks we never even expected, don't need us in the long run. But what's important there is there's no time limit. And that's our permanent supportive housing program. We do that, and sometimes it's called our Housing First program, because we really need to we try to remove all barriers to entry. Because these are folks they're in the situation they're in often because they've run out of other options, and they will likely have poor credit history. They may have some criminal history. They may have prior evictions. And the more that we can, but they need a fresh start, right? And so what we try to do is we try to give them that fresh start, but give them the supports and the tools so that they can be successful in that, and to do the follow-up. What else is important, I think, and has been really helpful for some of the partners with us in the program, is that when folks are sometimes property manager landlords know first, because they're every day in around buildings when something's going wrong. They can pick up and call the case manager, and our expectation is that case manager is picking up the phone on the other end and saying, "Thank you for letting me know. I'm following up right away." And if it turns out a certain location for one reason or another is not a good fit, we want it, whenever possible, work to support that family within their rights as tenants to do a move that doesn't require an eviction, so that they don't have another eviction on their record, and so you don't have to go through that lengthy and expensive process as landlords and property owners. It does not always work out that way, but that's the way we intend, and we want to do better at that. Sometimes families don't have that kind of long-term need. If we had a long-term voucher to give every family, we would do that, but we don't. And if we waited for it, we would not be able to help the number of families who are really looking for assistance. And so we have a program called Rapid Rehousing, where we provide short to medium-term help with families, and these are families who their service needs are not long-term, their affordability needs might be longer. So we've made some tweaks to that program so that we have can extend for longer periods the subsidy for families who need it, and really work with them in a way that they can be successful. We have some rules in the program right now that I feel are maybe a little bit overly punitive, that if families aren't fully participating in their case plan, that they can face eviction we will exit them from the program for non-compliance because they haven't held up their end of the deal. When that happens, it creates problems, I think, for you as landlords, because you have to go through, their subsidy goes away. And it creates problems for us because guess what? They're coming back into the shelter system. Now we have to start all over from scratch. We don't want that to happen, and so we're making changes to our rules to try to figure out new and different ways to really motivate families in the way that we need to, and they, and be supportive of them, but also, not, kind of stop some of this cycle. And so that's another program that we are very interested in. We really need your partnership on. So those are just a couple of the things that we're looking to do. We've got a new team of navigators that some of them have started, some of them we are also ramping up. We've actually taken some of our clients who are participants with us in the TANF program, and they're training along with some folks who have expertise in this area. So they've got some on-the-job training, and they're extra hands on the phones and doing some of the work on the follow-up in units. And we're excited about the multiple ways we can really get folks engaged and have income. So that just want to share with you some things we know about and that we're doing to correct. But now is really where what I'd like to know is to hear from you. What is it you need to know from us? What are the things you that might be holding you back, if anything, from working with us on the DHS programs?
I think what would be
And if
really,
you don't mind introducing yourself too, just because I don't know. I didn't
I'm Max Finland. I work with MED Landlords.
Mm-hmm.
What I think would be really helpful with DHS is set up something that DC Housing does have, which is the landlord portal. You can go on the website, track your inspects, track your payments, basically track any number of important factors, different variables. We've had a lot of trouble through TCP, just like trying to figure out what's going on. Whereas like the DC Housing has it set up perfectly.
Okay.
It's just really user friendly.
It's a great suggestion. We'll take a look at that.
I'm Johnny Mae Durant, and we kept, from the beginning, taking a lot of rapid rehousing and whatnot. But
so folks can't hear you. If you're able
I'm
to speak
sorry,
up, great. Or
I'm
if
having
not,
a-
I will repeat the question.
I'm having a
Yeah.
hard time talking today, but
Okay.
that's not usually my problem. But we have a concern. For instance, recently, we have two people, because one of the things we ask is that Rapid Rehousing send us a letter saying that they will support this person throughout at least 1 year. And they send that. But then they sent us just recently 2 letters. One I can understand because the person has a union job and for the past 3 months, and I think she's all right going forward. The other one, I don't think that's going to be the same situation. And they've cut her off after 3 months. I'm not sure that that's a good thing to do. If you at least 1 year could help them get themselves settled. I mean, like in this instance, for the next 3 months, the one person, as I said, I don't think there's a problem. The second person, I think there's going to be a problem for the next 3 months. I won't know until it actually happens. But they don't even allow them to stay on the job long enough to know if that's going to be a safe haven for them. And that gives me concern.
Okay. Do folks need me to summarize and repeat?
Yes.
Okay. So there are 2 tenants that, I'm sorry, your name again was Miss
Johnny Mae Durant.
Johnny Mae Durant in her programs who are in rapid rehousing. And she received a letter recently about 2 of the tenants in the program who are in rapid rehousing where their subsidy from DHS or TCP is going to go away.
After 9 months.
After 9 months. One of them is they're both employed. One of them is working in a job that there's a good amount of stability. The other one seems more tentative. And so the question was, could we do something to provide subsidies for longer, more security, not cut people off so quickly when when it seems like it's they're just getting stabilized. So that was the question, and that's something that we'll go ahead and take a look at when we look at the criteria, or how do we give that family a chance, but if it's not working out, before it becomes, that we can come back in, and that we can sort of keep the supports there, and if the financial assistance becomes an issue, that maybe we can do that. So we'll consider how can we be more nimble in those kinds of situations, or give people a little bit longer, if I'm understanding the concern.
At least the year that they say.
Or at least the full year. If we say we're going to support them for a year, even if they've got a job, maybe we should just support them for the year no matter what, give them a chance to really get their feet under them. Okay? Other comments or questions or feedback? Yes, sir.
Yes. I was speaking to somebody the other
And I'm
day.
sorry, would you mind I don't know.
Oh, no problem. My name is Mike Hornegay. I am vice chair, and also I have a property management company also. And I was speaking with someone, they called me, and I was talking about the program and the concern of a lot of landlords, like about at the end of the 12-month period, the tenants not having the ability to sustain. So it's almost a lot of landlords feel like it's an automatic eviction that you're looking at, and that's an automatic $10,000 depending on the size of your unit when you look at the unit turnover and whatever. So we thought, and I spoke to someone, he said he would speak to the right person to get back with me, but he didn't, of course. He just wanted me to take some tenants of his. But is there a way that you could facilitate the removal of the person? You see, because the concern is how long a landlord has to deal with, nobody wants to be a bad, mean person and throw a homeless person back on the street, but at the same time, his bills have to be paid, and some of us landlords are one step away from being on the street too. So is there a way that your program could consider that fact, and or you can speak to the proper person to have the removal rapid, like the housing, when they don't pay?
Yeah. So I think that's an important question, and I think for us, we have to make sure that we're not violating people's rights as tenants, but that we are also not hanging landlords out there to dry, because we want to mitigate your risk in renting to folks who may not have the best ideal tenant record, or maybe far from being the best have the best history as tenants. So when I've had the opportunity to work on this issue all over the country before coming here, and one of the things that some communities have done is they've partnered with the private sector to create a kind of indemnification fund, where if something goes wrong and the amount of money you have for your security deposit is not going to cover what you need, you can draw on that fund to recover your loss.
Up to how much?
Well, I think it's if we create it, it's up to us and the partners who are willing to fund it to really put the rules in place, and those are all things that we can talk about and look at. So that's one thing. We're talking to some partners in the community about how could we create that kind of a fund, where would it live, how could they operate it for us as a way to just kind of mitigate the risk. I think, but we can't, if somebody has a lease, we can't go in and terminate them on somebody else's behalf, but what we can do is we can really try to engage them in every way possible to either correct what's going on with the pavement or work with them to move of their own accord to something that's going to be a better fit. Because it's not good for them, just like it's not good for you to have yet another eviction on their record. So we will explore that.
Jonathan Mickles, Harold Huggins Realty. Excuse my ignorance on your program, but if you're going to fund these individuals for a year, is there an exit interview process that you may have such that 3 months prior to them exiting the program, it's kind of a 360 view, how's your work going, is everything going well, is it stable, and also possibly talking to the landlord so that before there's an eviction process or something like that, those things can be hashed out.
Yes, absolutely. And the expectation really is with the case management staff is that they are doing that
Okay.
as part of their process. I don't think it's, there are many instances I'm aware of today where that is not happening as it should. And we're also looking as a way of where we can extend beyond the 12 months when the situation warrants that we don't have to have an arbitrary cutoff. Because again, it ends up costing us and you more money. And if, to say that 12 months is it, we've got this tricky thing to really create a kind of urgency on behalf of the participants toward taking the steps they need to take to being able to pay more and more of their rent. But at the same time, we don't, to the point that was made earlier, we don't want to cut them off too early where they're really unstable and because there are a lot of problems from that. So I think that so what we can do, and I think one of the things we can look at modifying as we modify our standards around that, is really have some part of the process where they've checked in with the landlord. Has this tenant been paying their portion of the rent?
There you go.
What are you seeing? And that there's a little bit more feedback in it. I think that's a really great suggestion. That's something that we will take a look at.
Okay.
I'm going to just give the opportunity to some folks who haven't talked.
Oh. I'm Tyrone Sturgeon, just your friendly neighborhood landlord. First of all, I want to applaud Mr. Director for what he's doing now, which was long overdue. I'm sure some of the landlords would agree with that. And what you are planning to do as well. What can landlords do I was reading this, it says, grant a new lease on life. And then I got to thinking, what would be an incentive for landlords to grant a new lease on life? And the first thing came to my mind was getting the landlord-tenant courts on board. You know what I mean? Because it seems to stop right there, because we deal with professional tenants who knows the courts. And I'm not talking about, and I'm not speaking for landlords who's not doing the right thing. I'm just talking about landlords who are doing the right thing. And then, so it would be great if we could get a judge here, or somehow we can go to the judge and talk to them, just like we're doing here at this forum. That would be really something. We could do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of the landlords will agree with me on that.
Yep. I think it's a great idea. Years ago, I met with some of the folks in the court about our emergency rental assistance program, and they were really frustrated that folks have to have a writ in order to get prevention assistance, that it almost provides incentives for people to get to that point where they have the writ, and they wanted us to really think about ways that we could provide that kind of financial support sooner without having to get to that point. And I think it was really, there was an important conversation, and they had a lot to say, and I think on their end they would have a number of suggestions for us as well. And we will absolutely follow up on what it would take to coordinate with some representative of this representation from this group, some conversation about what, how we might all work together. Great.
I'm sorry, my name is Fred Ordende. On the issue that the gentleman raised a few minutes ago, I think there has to be a legislative process. Some of the tenants, what they can get away with in Washington, D.C., they couldn't do it in Maryland, and they couldn't do it in Virginia. Sure. So it has to be the city council coming up with a kind of reform that would not allow, if you may, rowdy tenants to be able to take advantage and kind of disrupt the kind of program we're working on. So we're